The public outcry over Angela's revelations was immediate and overwhelming. News outlets ran headline after headline about Judge Whitmore's history of prejudice and corruption. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, demanding justice not just for Leonard Carter, but for every person Whitmore had wronged. Inside his private chambers, Judge Whitmore felt the walls closing in. He sat hunched at his desk, his hands trembling as he read the latest news article about the investigation. The article didn't mince words. A judge's reign of injustice, the prejudices that stole lives. He tried to call in favors from his old friends in powerful positions, but one by one, they distanced themselves. "This is too big, Harold," they said. "We can't be associated with you anymore." For the first time in his career, Judge Whitmore felt powerless. Angela wasn't content with just exposing Whitmore's biases. She wanted systemic change. She worked closely with legal watchdog organizations and investigative journalists to dig deeper into Whitmore's rulings. The findings were damning. Cases where evidence was fabricated or ignored. Defendants sentenced to the maximum penalties for minor offenses. Dismissive and demeaning remarks directed at female attorneys and defendants. The final blow came when a whistleblower from Whitmore's inner circle came forward, revealing that Whitmore had accepted bribes from powerful individuals to influence his rulings. The Judicial Review Board summoned Whitmore for a formal hearing. The once arrogant judge shuffled into the hearing room. His posture slouched, his face pale. Gone was the confident man who had once ruled the courtroom with an iron fist. Angela attended the hearing, sitting in the front row. She watched as Whitmore stumbled through his defense, his voice cracking as he denied the allegations. "Your Honor," the lead investigator said, "we have records of you. Our bank transactions showing unexplained deposits. We have testimony from former staff members about your conduct. And we have over a dozen cases where your rulings defied logic and fairness. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Whitmore's voice was barely above a whisper. I made mistakes," he stammered. "I never meant to hurt anyone." Angela couldn't help but feel a pang of disgust. This was the man who had nearly destroyed her father's life, now reduced to a pitiful figure begging for leniency. The review board found Whitmore guilty of misconduct, bias, and corruption. He was stripped of his judicial title, his pension revoked, and his reputation left in ruins. The state attorney general announced plans to prosecute him for accepting bribes and falsifying records. As Whitmore left the courthouse for the last time, protesters jeered and chanted, "Justice for all!" He avoided eye contact, his once proud shoulders now slumped under the weight of his disgrace. With Whitmore gone, Angela worked to ensure the system would no longer protect judges like him. She proposed legislation to increase oversight of the judiciary, mandating regular reviews of judges' rulings for patterns of bias and misconduct. Her efforts paid off. The reforms passed with bipartisan support, marking a turning point in the fight for a fairer legal system. As for Leonard, he returned home to his community, where he was welcomed as a hero. Angela, too, became a symbol of hope and resilience, proving that even the most powerful systems of injustice could be challenged and changed. Years later, Whitmore sat alone in a small, dimly lit apartment, watching a news segment about Angela Carter's latest accomplishments. She had just been nominated for Attorney General, her name now synonymous with justice and integrity. Whitmore turned off the TV and stared at the empty walls around him. He had spent his life building a facade of power and authority, but in the end, it had all crumbled. And Angela? She stood tall, her father's hand in hers, ready to continue her fight for a better world.